1. Holla ballers and a bro fist to you all! Friday has rolled around and it has come and gone. If you were away, my friends, I was kidnapped, mercilessly kidnapped at the end of Tuesday's stream, and was beaten around the head. Unrelenting assault occurred, and I am suffering from severe amnesia as to what happened during the whole thing. I was released from captivity at midnight on Thursday. I managed to struggle my way back to the studio for Friday morning. But thankfully I am here, and the doctors do say that my amnesia will clear up in the near future. I just have to really push and try and remember everything that happened. That's what I've got to do. So everything's a bit hazy and foggy right now, but I'm sure at some point I will reach clarity and everything will go well. Let me get this giant board out of the way. If you're not sure what that is, that's the board of death. That's the board of death, which is now racking up tallies for repeated deaths. But that's not why you're here right now. As we come to the end of our Darkest Dungeon journey in the next day or so, we're here to celebrate the weird and wonderful world that is the online world we encompass, our MMO journeys, as well as many others, because of people acting strange once they get that anonymity behind them, despite the fact that we can find you and people will tell us what you did. But everybody who's hearing this has encountered somebody who's a little strange, a little odd, into things that just made you go, huh, or perhaps you were that person. It's a good cathartic experience to share your tales with us under the anonymous blanket that is Drama Time, as you are replaced by our wonderful viewers here, who will step into your shoes and be a big part of the story. And that's what we're going to do today. But if you want to share them with us, send it to drama@preachgaming.com. We'd much appreciate it. And also, as a reminder, we have freed up some more tickets for PreachCon 2024. So you can go and buy them anytime you like to join us with a bunch of mystery guests and things like that down here in Manchester. It's going to be a great event. Looking forward to it. So you can go and check those out. All right. I've got a few stories in front of me provided by our lovely Bex. I'm going to go with this one first. I think we start with a tale. Ladies and gentlemen, I suspect we are raising our cringe gavels to the sky. Our cringe gavels to the sky. You down bad. Dug bed. Okay. You down bad in a dug bed. Prepare your cringe. I feel like we're going to be in cringe land with our wonderful Google. I can never say this. Thessiu? Thessiu? I think it's Thessiu, but it's TH3C4U. I think it's... I'm going to go with Thessiu. Contact me if I'm getting it wrong. Arctorsil. Azeria. Easy name. And of course, the simple Jimmy. Jimmy. A typo in the title? Oh, yeah. That's fine. I can fix that. There we go. You down bad in a dug bed will be the tale for our lovely Sunday afternoon. Let's get started. Let's have some fun. Preacher! Greetings to you and the ever fair and objective chat. I feel like somebody might be about to get judged. I feel a judgment coming on, my friends. I feel a judgment arriving. Mike, I've been a listener for years, and I've had this story floating around in my big pink brain for a while, and I had time to finally get off my ass and type it out while I was on the toilet at work. We salute you, toilet adventurers, whipping out your phone and typing away. No judgment is required, I promise. Okay. It's just a story of what happened. It's about love, life, and maturing in Azeroth. Okay. You matured in Azeroth, did you? Mikey, I want to take you and the audience back through times, through the mists itself, back all the way to a time when some of them may not have even been born. Oh God, this is going to be scary. 2004. How many of you were not alive in 2004? You're going to make me feel really old. You're going to make me feel really old. Is there people here who are like, nope. Nope, yeah, dinosaur. I was 10, I was 11, that's okay. Oh, John wasn't, okay. You were 15. All right, well, not too bad. But you would have been 6 years old. Okay. So we don't have any, like, babies. That's good. That fits with our metrics. That's fine. Being 6 is fine. I live in the big smoke, London town. I think it's hard for the young Zoomers these days to truly appreciate how Blizzard captured lightning in a bottle with their IPs at the end of the 90s and early noughties. Sure, there's fun to be had. We could roll deep in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater to some banging tunes, and I'm told people had fun doing whatever the fuck people are actually doing in The Sims. I was addicted to The Sims for a while. I was. I don't know which one it was. I want to say it was 2 or 3. But there was a period of time when I was very addicted to The Sims. I was putting... people were making pro wrestler characters. So I had, like, the Hardy Boys living in one house. I had, like, the Undertaker living in another house. You could put... It was genius. You could put your own MP3s into a folder, and they would play on the jukebox in the game. It was awesome. It was super fun. I had, like, Metallica blasting as when I was walking around my house. I mean, sure, I could have just put the music on my PC, but that's not as fun, you see. It's more fun when the Sims danced to it. That was more fun. But Blizzard, my friends, Blizzard revolutionized the RTS with Warcraft 3 and invented the ARPG genre with Diablo series. I met the man who invented Diablo. It was a very interesting conversation when I was in New Zealand. All while telling epic stories that were animated in glorious detail with their FMVs. In my opinion, only Valve had a similar-sized impact on gaming in the early noughties. I would argue that... I don't want to put it on Capcom, but Team Resident Evil... definitely changed the genre. The Final Fantasy team were definitely doing their stuff. I would argue in the 90s there were some very big players. I mean, how can you can't dismiss Rareware either. Rare was doing some incredible things in the noughties. Rare was like destroying, right? It's such a shame what happened to Rare, but Rare was really kicking ass. Their games like GoldenEye and everything, back to back, were just like amazing. They were so good. So good. So, Mikey, when 2004 rolled around and we had the opportunity to jump into Warcraft, and this time side by side with my bros to explore the entire world they had created, my head almost popped off my shoulders. There is a pure, visceral excitement you experience as a child that becomes rarer the older you get. True. I don't get that feeling anymore. If the only thing I regret about getting older is I don't care about items in games anymore. And it really pisses me off because I see people like, ooh, I got this super sick mace, and I just don't give a shit. Number go up. I've collected millions of items over the course of my gaming tenure, man. Like, I just can't get excited anymore. I just go, okay, what stats does it have? That's it. I just don't get excited anymore. I really can't. People losing their fucking mind over a trinket and shit, and I'm like, number goes up. 20 years later, though, I'm a papa now. I look back on these halcyon days and envy that intense feeling of joy as I made my first character. Naturally, I made a dwarf paladin. Gross. I took my first steps into Azeroth. You made a dwarf paladin, like, out of a choice. That's just... Why? Fucking rancid, you Lord of the Rings fan. I know what's going on. Mithril. Ugh, I'm a dwarf with a beard. Now, Mikey, don't get me wrong. I wouldn't want to do that again now. Vanilla at release was a fucking shit show. And it was. And it survived on the crazy excitement of just being in the world long enough that the devs could work out what they were doing and start to offer vaguely coherent endgame content. These things have changed now in 2024. Look at Mop Remix, for example. Smooth sailing with a clearly defined and planned out endgame for people to enjoy over that 3-month period. Today's a different world where it's all organized and everything's working perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. Absolutely. The gold standard. Slowly over time, some semblance of endgame routine came together. Those of you who were there at the time might remember Half-Life 2 released within like 2 weeks of WoW. Really, did it? This was brutally unfair to PC gamers, dropping 2 generation-defining games within the same month. I didn't leave my room at university for over a month and was regularly up until dawn playing one or the other. God, I wish I could play Half-Life 2 for the first time again. Oh my god. That would have been good times if I could actually eliminate some of my brain. I started being able to attend enough of my classes that I didn't straight fail university, but pretty much every other waking moment was dedicated to gaming, and eventually, of course, I completed the single-player games and just ended up living in Azeroth itself. I was playing with a friend. I had known this person since they were 8 years old, my friend Jimmy. We were having a blast. He made himself a gnome mage. He's always been a bit of a freak. And we bumbled our way through the world doing whatever content we found. Early on, while we were rocking Westfall, we ran into a human female mage. Holy shit, preach. Oh god, you're at university. Are you really going to fall for this? I know where this is going. Not only did we bump into another player, but a female. Really? Obviously, we found out a week later that our beautiful siren that was talking to us was a Swedish bro named Google. But by that point, it didn't matter. I'd already cracked one out to the imaginary woman in my brain, and now we'd become just great friends. So, whatever. Task completed successfully. It's alright. Questing awaited us, and we've been hearing rumours that a dickhead called Van Cleef needed a kick in the spuds. Anyway, by this time, guilds were forming, and we found one. And with the addition of a few other randos we picked up along the way, we had a little social scene going, better than I'd ever experienced in any other video game. My pally eventually got 60 after about 20 days played of game time. And that very same day, I immediately said, fuck this class is dog shit and I hate it, and re-rolled to a dwarf priest. Really? You made it through the horrors that is level 50 plus paladin gameplay to re-roll at 60. That's disgusting. That's disgusting. That's real. You re-rolled to be overpowered. You'd heard the rumors were out, the elitists were out, Fear Ward was a thing, and you wanted to be OP. You were flavor of the month till the end of the earth, and you were like, okay, I'm going to be overpowered. I'm not quite sure I've ever casually binned off 400 hours of gameplay before, and I don't think I've ever done this since, unless you consider my degree, of course. Anyway, I got to max level, and I joined in the team that was running LBRS, UBRS, Diamol, Strat, Skolo, and I remember brimming with pride when I finished the full Devout set. Oh, loser. You really farmed the Devout set? Jesus Christ. I remind your chat, the Devout set was 8 full pieces, no group finder, and everybody was bad. I achieved that Devout set through blood, sweat, and tears, and it's god-awful looking as well. One of the worst transmogs in the game. You look absolutely horrendous in the Dwarf set. It's also bad. There's way better armor for priests, but we didn't know. Long before the math started to show. Of course, what was next for us, my friends? Raiding. Molten Core. The most epic of encounters in video game history awaited us. And it was too hard. It was at least too hard and too much for our merry band of misfits. So, a guild merger. Realistically, our guild was absorbed. Like a big slobby creature gobbling up everything around it. We were absorbed into... Oh my god, is this about my guild? There's no way. We are absorbed into a guild of mostly Croatians. This better not be about my vanilla guild. There's no way. Who wrote this? Who wrote this? Okay. The hairs on my arms are starting to stand up a little bit. I'm interested now. It is exactly what happened to me. We had a band of about 8 players. Some Scots, some Brits. And we got absorbed into a Croatian guild. Okay, it is not my guild. Because they cleared Blackwing Lair. My guild did not clear Blackwing Lair. We cleared Molten Core, Blackwing Lair. I had to move on. I had to leave. I had to follow Nups's advice. Nups was begging me to get out of that guild because he was in Nax and our guild was still farming Molten Core in Onyxia. Just feeding every other guild. And there was me. A true believer that I could get this merry band of people who couldn't be fucked through Blackwing Lair. We never even killed Vale. In fact, that guild never killed Razorgore in like 4 months of trying. I did every job at Razorgore to try and get them through it. I was the Eggman. I kited on my priest using Mind Blast. I kited the Drakes using some speed stuff and fucking Mind Blast and jumping off platforms at the right time. I was a troll priest kiting. Our hunters could not kite the Drakes, which involves running in a circle. That's all it is. Just run in a circle. We had 7 hunters and they couldn't do it. We cleared Molten Core, we cleared Blackwing Lair, and we got about halfway through Naxxramas. I'm not sure which boss you hated the most as a priest. Oh, which boss did I hate the most as a priest in Naxxramas? Unironically, Anubra Khan. I don't know what our tanks were doing, but they died nearly every single time. They just could not run down that ledge. We would give them aspects. We would give them everything. They would just like get hung up on the walls. They would run into the slime. They would get dazed. They would do so much shit. And I would spam heal them and spam heal them. And I just could not. I just could not keep them alive through there. They would be shield walling. They would just be stood in Anubra Khan's fucking nonsense. Absolute dog shit players. For me, it was Instructor Resuvius. Oh, mind controlling? No way. I would stack hit gear, get my mind control target to do what I wanted, to use the shitty little pet control bar. It was a huge headache. Miles away from my safe space of casting very low rank greater heals over and over again on one person. The height of skilled gameplay in 2005. Ah, simpler times. But then the Burning Crusade came. And with the promise of 10-man raiding, we decided to part ways with Team Croatia. Jimmy recovered his old guild from an alt, invited me, Google, and a few mates we've made from the old guild, and we had a solid little raiding team. As part of the group, we had a second Swede, a girl. We had a second Swede, a Norwegian girl, my brother Thessiu, and a Kuwaiti guy called Aktorsil. Aktorsil was one of my all-time favourite raiding friends. Not only was he hilarious in English, but he would add a bunch of Arabic internet slang into our chat just to crack me up. Let me give you an example. After we kill a boss in Karazhan for the first time, 3 Ajib, he typed in the group chat. We're all on Ventrilo, so he piped up and asked, what is 3 Ajib? And he said, your keys don't show it, but I'm trying to say amazing in Arabic. Arctorsil replied, you bet your ass that when the next boss downs the entire group was shouting 3 Ajib on Ventrilo. He didn't tell us how you actually pronounce the word, so we just called it 3 Ajib. And he seemed hilarious to him how newbie we were with Arabic. And so 3 Ajib became the guild motto of murder. Another example, later on a raid break, he would run up to Jimmy in-game and shout using the almighty chat bubbles, Na Iman. Arctorsal, what the fuck is Na Iman? You know, after you get a haircut, the barber slaps you on the back of the head and shouts, Na Iman. Is this a thing in Kuwait? Is this a thing in Kuwait? Ah, good haircut. Bang! Obviously, most of us were from the UK or Europe and had never heard of anything like this or what the fuck he was talking about. For months afterwards, our voice chat would break out into choruses of Naughty Man when someone died, simulating them being slapped on the back of the head. 3 Jeep equals strange, not amazing. Okay, we got translations in the chat. Back in the day, of course, we had no social media. We didn't have that cancerous behemoth that it is now. WoW was, for many of us, a first time making friends from different cultures from all over the world, and we were spanking Nefarian, etc. For me, an unexpected joy was finding how friends we'd make would use English in ways we never thought of. Obviously, I would never make fun of someone that has actually bothered to learn the best language on the planet as their second or third or fourth language, but I am immensely grateful that anyone that has gone through the trouble to learn my language when I couldn't be asked to learn a word of Swedish, Norwegian, or Arabic, or whatever other nationalities were playing in the guild. Amen, brother. Amen, brother. I think you expressed this sentiment really well in your streams. I'm regularly impressed at how erudite other drama time authors are. Hey, it's all good, man. It's all good, you know? You guys are all, like, raised in the internet to speak English, right? I don't need to do shit. That said, there are turns of phrase and ways of wording things in English that you would only get from people that grew up with a different native tongue. And these can be surprising and hilarious. I think of these moments like a gift, since they would just never come out of my brain. You have to be careful with this, though, because it is important no one ever feels like they're being laughed at, even when what they're saying is fucking hilarious. Google understood this. I feel like I'm going to end up reading something horrible here. And turned this power against me by specifically coming up with bonkers Swinglish on purpose to make me laugh. And this is where we need to introduce Azaria. Azaria came from Bergen in Norway. She was the girl of the guild. The token girl of the guild. She joined our little squad at the beginning of the Burning Crusade as we were starting to do some Karazhan. She played a female dwarf priest. Do not trust. I can't actually say I've ever met a girl that would choose a dwarf. Do not trust. And we would regularly be the healing team as we progressed through the raids. Annie? No, Annie doesn't play a dwarf. Does Annie play a dwarf? Maybe in like a shit mode like Mop Remix, but not in like for real. Female dwarf priest is awesome. I don't think so. Hard pass. These are some of my happiest memories of WoW. Playing with my brother and my bestest mates, progressing albeit slowly through Kara, which I still think of as one of the best raids ever. I'm sure this is subjective to a certain degree. The difficulty was just right for us and we found it challenging, but we were progressing. And it had such an awesome variety of environments and bosses and trash that just nailed all of WoW in one dungeon for me. Now, here we go, my friends. Azaria and I started to get on well. We started hanging out in game, chatting about healing, and then moving on to our personal lives and random shit in the wee hours. She said we should start dating. Now, this was my first time ever internet dating, because we lived over 1,000 kilometers away from each other in different countries, and we had never actually met each other outside of the game. It turns out that she is what maybe some of us in the UK would describe as clingy. Oh no. I quickly realized that when I said yes to this dating through the electrons flying through the cables, what she actually meant was that all your time now belongs to me. Even though we would not meet in real life, it became very apparent I had bitten off more than I could possibly handle. Within 2 hours of me saying, yes, I would like to date you, she sent me on a quest. I had to go to Dixon's and Camden High Street in London and buy a webcam. She said that if we were at our PC and not playing WoW, then we should be in video chat on Skype to keep close to each other. Mike, this felt like it was like all day, every day. I mean, are you getting bobs of Jean? Or are you showing Brain online in 2005? Because, I mean, that's Wild West internet days, man. I mean, that's going to be like some 480p donga, right? I don't think dong's supposed to be seen in 480p. Like, what kind of webcams are you getting in 2005? They're going to be pretty fucking AOL sensitive, aren't they? You know what I mean? Mike, it might not surprise you to learn that as time grew on, I started to get a little fucking tired of this. I liked her. I really did. But it didn't mean I wanted to spend my entire fucking waking hours with her. But one thing I lacked, my friends, as many of us did back then, is maturity and self-awareness, or how to express my feelings to someone if we were going to build a relationship. So, instead of talking to her, setting some boundaries, expressing that if I wasn't at the PC, that didn't mean I was cheating on her like a mature adult, I just vented all my bullshit onto Google in the pink in-game. Well, he said he was at university, so he must be... I don't know, he's got to be 18 plus. Got to be. Got to be 18 plus. Now, Google was a bro. An ultimate wingman. Grubel was humid about it. He played along as I blasted about how she wouldn't leave me alone, how she was calling me in the middle of the night if she couldn't sleep, how I was no longer allowed to turn my PC off so she could video call me whenever she felt like. We joked around about it, when he clearly could have just said, so, you're dating Azarea, right? And she wants to spend time with you. Please explain where this is my problem. Okay, that's fair enough. So my bullshit went on for a while. I had just about finished university at this point, so what do you think my number one priority was? Finding a job, man. Gotta start paying back all this debt. Nope. That was exactly the bottom of my priority list. Graduating university meant that I could improve my raiding hours. My man. And as the guild was progging Serpent Shrine Cavern and Tempest Keep, that meant there was so many heroics and badges to be farmed that I really needed all this extra time away from classes to make my character as strong as possible. Legend. Absolute legend. As I slowly stretched out the last of my student loan to cover raid progression instead of finding a job, I distinctly remember the day I could no longer justify buying cheese. Oh, I've been there, bro. Cheese is really expensive. You don't realize it until you've got to buy that shit yourself, and then you're like, motherfucker, cheese is really expensive. Cheese fucking sucks, because you want the cheese. A little bit of cheese on beans, cheese on toast, but cheese is expensive. I decided as I checked my bank account and saw the number reducing to its last little drops, that it would probably be wise to spend the last few pounds I had on a plane ticket to Bergen. I was going to get on a plane to a country I'd never been to before to spend an entire week with someone I've never met in the real world while having absolutely no money to do anything. It was the genius maneuver. Y'all really wanted to have some sex, didn't you? Y'all really was like, look, I've got no money, but I can fucking get there. That's the important thing. I can fucking get there. I can get there, and that's what matters. We don't need money. Sex is free. We can do it. Mike, audience, listen to this. It was absolutely fucking worth. It was super worth. To any young listeners in your chat, all I can say is travel, make friends, be smart, be safe, but go out and see the world. Yeah, come to PreachCon. Let's see you there. Okay, Bergen, not exactly what I would call Shanghai, but if it wasn't for the small steps like visiting Bergen, I wouldn't have been ready for bigger and better steps later on. And I did actually end up living in Shanghai for over a decade. Back in 2007, though, let's bring it back to reality and not the future. Azaria was a kind host. She came to meet me at the airport. Kind host. Kind host. She came to meet me at the airport. And sure, it was a little strange seeing her in person for the first time. But after a little awkwardness, we gradually relaxed on the bus ride to town. And by the time we got to hers, we were chatting away quite happily. Now, before going to Bergen, I do have to confess to being cynical about the city. Azaria was very proud of where she's from and wouldn't let me forget it. Yeah, London might be cool, but it's not Bergen. Yeah, I heard you guys have rain in London, but it doesn't rain like Bergen. Okay. Yeah, I'm sure the food is good in London, but the food in Bergen is so much better. I was quite ready to re-educate her after arriving, just because how sick I was of hearing of just how amazing Bergen was all the time. I teased her a bit, but if I'm honest, Bergen was fine. It was pretty cool. When you can leave the house and see a fjord in front of you and actual legit mountains behind you, it's pretty dope. Certainly when compared to the glorious spectacle that is Clapham Junction. I mean, let's not say that like that's a tourist spot, alright? Let's not compare Clapham Junction to a mountain, alright? There's plenty to see in London, let's be clear on this. Oh, and to be fair to her, Bergen rains like a motherfucker. Not like itty bitty, oh I got a bit damp rain, but like Jesus fucking Christ, why is someone throwing water balloons at me from the sky? It was mental. You can also just bump into legends of the Norwegian black metal scene just hanging out in the local bars. Very cool for a metal fan like me. On the second day, it got to the afternoon and Azaria said to me, "Oh yeah, we're going to go upstairs for dinner tonight." Upstairs? What does that mean? What do you mean going upstairs, I asked. As Azaria lived in a ground floor flat. My parents live above me. Oh no. Not to be crass, but you better not have had this girl screaming downstairs while fucking dad's got a pipe and a paper upstairs. Because that's going to be hot. She should really have told you that. That's important information to be just fucking letting people know about. If the parents are in the 5-meter vicinity, I want to know. I want to know. I started to panic a little bit. Breacher, we had never met outside of WoW until 2 days ago, and suddenly there I was, sat at a table with her parents like a job interview. Or a son-in-law interview. The whole situation got very serious very quickly, and I was not even remotely ready for this. From their perspective, they wanted to grill me about my life. Their daughter, their beautiful, precious daughter, their lovely daughter, had invited some rando from the UK of all places, someone she had never met in person, to fly to their house in Norway and live there? You'd be mad not to be sus, especially back then. First of all, I didn't want to live there, but I seemed to get through it. They didn't kick me out. We had a big proper snow, which was awesome. And then one day, Azaria said she wanted us to record ourselves singing a Christmas carol as a gift for her parents. Who would want that? Who would want that? Why would your parents want that? That sounds horrible. That sounds disgusting. If my kids give me that, I am posting that shit on fucking TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, everywhere. And I'm tagging that motherfucker till the day he dies and then locking it down. Throwing away the password, smashing my keyboard, and just letting it fly. Mike, I was enamored with this girl. She was my real-life dwarf priest. Oh, loser. She have a beard as well. Fuck me, did I do it? Of course you did. We recorded ourselves singing an awful off-key Christmas carol. Some of it was in Norwegian, and I just went along with it. Oh, dude. Preacher, I tell you now, I sometimes wake up cringing that that video may one day resurface. And if it does, I may tense up so bad that I'll snap. She did treat me well, though. One night, she took me out to a club with a friend of hers. I have never, Mike, ever, before or since this day, which was all the way back when I was at university, felt so out of place. I did not belong in this kind of environment. Now, later in my mid-20s, I did eventually have some okay times in clubs. But this time, I was lost.
But now I came
like,
back
oh,
and
we got
it's telling
TTS
me
on.
it's my 13th month instead.
Sorry, I can hear it coming through. I'll get that in a bit, Tompa. But I was so lost. I was like a man from Victorian Britain being dropped into the middle of Night City. What is this noise? Why does this place smell? Why are you barely wearing any clothes? But I did survive. I did my best not to embarrass her with how out of depth I clearly was in my metal shirts. Needless to say, however, if things were intense online, she was doubly intense in person. By the time the week came to an end, even though I'd had a good time, I felt like I was going to suffocate. I got back on the plane, back to Stansted with a huge sigh of relief to be away from her. Oh no. But also thankful for the experience and for Azaria being a pretty great host. Red alert. So naturally, I thought we should repay the favor. I invited her to come and stay with me in the UK. It was getting close to Christmas. So I invited her over for a bit over a week to fly home the day before Christmas Eve, since, of course, that's the day Christmas Day is celebrated in Norway. Now, your boy writing this to you all here was raised with good quality, one-of-a-kind British manners. So, I welcomed her at the airport. I played a wonderful host in London. We did tourist things for a few days, then went to stay with my father, who was living in Hertfordshire, which is very pretty. Thiasu, my brother, came with us as we were flatmates at the time. Our plan was to send Azaria off just before Christmas Eve. Then, Thiasu and I would stay with my dad for Christmas. Things didn't start well, my friends. Things did not start well, my friends. No, they didn't. My brother and Azaria, World of Warcraft friends who had played with each other for many, many years, got into a rage because the UK celebrated Christmas on the wrong day. Now, what do you mean the wrong day? Christmas, of course, is on the 25th, Christmas Day. No. Team Norway celebrates on Christmas Eve because that's when Jesus was actually born. I was watching them argue about this for ages. They then argued about the fucking rain, the difference between Bergen rain and London rain, and all this nonsense, and it gave me a headache. Who fucking cares? I shouted. Now, Azaria, bless her, my beautiful little dwarf priest, was very competitive. And this is where I need to tell you about a game called Mao, M-A-O. Mao is a card game, and I'm going to break the rules of Mao by telling you the rules of Mao. Since the first rule of Mao is you can't tell anybody the rules, ever. I mean, the first time you play Mao, it is against the rules for the other person to tell you the rules. Is this real? Hold on, I need to Google. Is this real? Welcome, Raiders. Hey, welcome to Drama Time if it's your first time. You're in for a ride. Is Mao a real game? These are stories written by our wonderful audience from World of Warcraft of people they've met in the anonymous world. Mao is a card... It's a real game. Mao is a card game of the shedding family. The aim is to get rid of all the cards in hand without breaking certain unspoken rules which vary by place that plays Mao. It is similar in structure to the card game Uno or Crazy Eights. The game forbids its players from explaining how to play the game, and new players are often informed that the only rule you may be told is this one. The ultimate goal of the game is to be the first player to get rid of all the cards. Specifics are discovered through trial and error. A player who breaks a rule is penalized by being given additional cards. The person giving the penalty must state what the incorrect action was without explaining the rule that was broken. As you can imagine, there are many variants of Mao. While beginners sometimes assume that the dealer, sometimes called the chairman, like Chairman Mao, oh, I get it, and the other, I get it now, yeah, this makes sense, and other experienced players are simply making up possibly inconsistent rules. The rules of Mao are consistent within each game and can be followed correctly. Okay, this might be a test at PreachCon, maybe. We'll see, we'll see. Okay. The story continues. The game has many variants, and due to not being able to discuss the rules, I'm sure listeners that have played it will have played with some different rules. But this is the rules that our wonderful dwarf priest Azaria laid down for us. You use multiple decks of cards. You deal each player 7 cards. Once cards are dealt, the dealer says, "All hail the great game of Mao," to which all players answer, "Hail," and the game has begun. The objective of the game is to get rid of all the cards. Players take it in turn to discard cards from their hands, similar to the whopping and unmatched majesty of the game of Uno, matching suit or matching number. Every time you break a rule, you are punished by giving more cards. Talking when it's not your turn, take a card. Talking about the rules, take a card. Some cards have specific rhymes you have to say when you play them. Failure to say the correct rhyme, take a card. Say the rhyme incorrectly, take a card. Say the rhyme at the wrong card, take a card. You get the idea. Okay, you are being scammed hard by this girl. The first player to get rid of all their cards wins, and their reward, they get to add a new rule, which the other players will learn about for the first time when they break it, and get given more cards. Holy shit, is this like Mop Remix or what? It's just like an ever-changing situation. It's just nothing's ever the same from day to day. It's just new and interesting, and magic things are happening all the time for some reason. And then suddenly there's frogs, and then there's no frogs, and then the boss dies, and then it doesn't die. I don't know. Honestly, Preacher, I had a blast. This game is a fantastic test of character, because no matter how smart you are, the first time you play this game, you will not just lose, but you will lose so badly. You'll be crushed under the weight of cards in your hands while your friends teach you the game happily through the dance of the rules. It makes it a great experiment to see how someone handles inescapable failure. Oh, so it's a Kobayashi Maru. Okay. Google took it like a champ when we first played. When you play a Jack of any suit, you need to say the rhyme, "Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, Jack jump over the candlestick." And Google, bearing in mind he is full Swee, would struggle to say this. "Jack be nimble, Jack be quick, fuck your mother, just give me a card," is what he made it in the Swedish variant of the game. Fair enough. Absolute legend. Azaria, on the other hand, was not amused by the cheekiness. Oh, they introduced her to the game. Okay. They're scamming her. And she's full Bergen about it. She's going full Norwegian. There is no humour to be had here. Thiasu and I knew the rules, and we decided to introduce Azaria and my dad to the game at the same time. We did try to soften the blow, saying, "Hey, look, we know the game's not fair, it's not about winning. Just have some fun. It's more of a personality game." She didn't appreciate that. I knew things were going badly after Azaria's third rule infringement, as she called it. Jesus Christ, that's quite serious. A rule infringement. She started to turn red. My dad was losing even worse than her, but also clearly didn't give a fuck about this game. However, as time went on, Azaria's frustration grew ever more palpable. Tension was rising and none of us were laughing anymore. She got another infringement. She started to argue about this one. "Infringement. Talking outside a point of order. Take a card," said Thiasu with a cheeky grin. "Point of order," she shouted. Everyone puts down their cards. It's an infringement to touch your cards during an officially called point of order. I didn't even break that rule last time you gave me a card, she protested. To which Thrasu replied, infringement, talking about the rules. Take another card. Thrasu, now trying to stop himself from pissing himself. I got a look that made me unsure if I was going to live for the rest of the day. At this point, tears of literal rage appears on her cheeks. Point of order, I said. Why don't we stop playing this game and watch a movie? I tried to defuse it, my friends. I tried. Why don't we just stop playing? It's a card game. It's a silly card game. Let's just stop. Play the fucking game! She said, staring at me deeply in the eyes. Okay. So we finished the game. By the end of it, she was holding more than half a deck of cards. This game is fucking stupid. She stood up, turned around, and went upstairs. I had to look at my dad and my brother, wide-eyed in shock. My brother was holding it back. But the second he heard the door slam upstairs, he burst out laughing. And it made me laugh. We were in hysterics. I heard another door slamming upstairs, but we just couldn't. There was nothing we could do. We had to embrace, yeah, I was in a mountain of trouble, and relax because, fuck it, it's too late. I'm already in trouble, and it is kind of funny. So, it is what it is. Getting in trouble was something I was no stranger to at this point. Azaria back in Norway, it was back to endless. When Azaria left and went back to Norway, it was back to endless Skype calls. I'd be getting minute details of Azaria's life over what she was doing in-game, despite the fact that we were doing it together. It was a constant struggle to come up with care to give. I descended. Friends, countrymen, those of you who have dated very clingy girls, I descended into the, replies. It wasn't a mental choice, but my brain had checked out. I was playing Warsong Gulch with Google. I was having a good time. I would occasionally make an excuse that Google and I needed to be on comms because this game was getting serious. Or we were doing ranked 2s with our characters. One hot summer's night, my friends. It must have been around 2 a.m. Azaria was telling me some very serious stuff about something. I have no idea what she was saying. I wasn't paying attention. I was typing to Google in game and having fun. But I was on video camera. So I was doing my best to keep a serious face. In the middle of the conversation, a smile crept across my cheeks. It was a dead giveaway that I was not listening to whatever she was talking about, which in her world was super serious. Google knew it. He was dropping jokes because he wanted me to break on camera. I have started to have to cover my mouth or swallow to avoid laughing. I just didn't want to get shouted at anymore. I was just keeping it together. When Google typed me a message, he wingmanned me. He did what bros should do. Mate, are you not bored of this? I thought about it. And I replied, tell me about it. I really like her. I do. I just wish she'd give it a bit of a rest sometimes. Just give me some time away. To which Google, in his sweet English, replied, mate, you dug bed. Make sex in off not. He knew what he was doing. He was intentionally typing broken Swinglish to me. He knew it always made me laugh. He knew it would break me. He knew I was on video camera with her. He knew exactly what he was doing. My eyes fixed on the screen as the grin went ear to ear in my face. The more I tried to force my face straight, the harder it grew to escape. My core was tensing up as I started to shake with the internal laugh inside me. My eyes were welling up with tears. They started rolling down my cheeks as I tried to hold the line. I felt the pressure building. And it summarized itself, my friends, with a as a spit burst went over the webcam. The balled up pressure, it made it 10 times worse than if I just let out an initial chuckle. It wasn't even that funny. It was just the fact that I was trying to hold it back that made it funnier and harder to contain. It grew like an explosion, like a mushroom cloud coming from my gut. I laughed so hard I could hardly breathe. The headset fell off my head. I could hear muffled screams of rage from Azaria being directed at me, but by this point, I had to leave the camera and laugh it off. I ached in my stomach from laughing. And then I started to calm down and things returned to normal. Azaria dumped me for laughing at her issues. I came back on the camera and she said it was over. That it was so disrespectful to have responded that way to what she could say to me. It was amicable. We amicably went our separate ways, and to be fair, friends, we still occasionally catch up all these years later. We're both parents. She met someone else. I met someone else. We've grown up. Google, Jimmy, and Thasu and I are still besties to this day, and for my last pre-COVID summer holiday, Thasu and I met up with Goobs to go hiking up in northern Sweden for a week. A trail called the Kungslagen up in the Arctic Circle. It was majestic, and I can't recommend it highly enough. Later on, we hit Keystone Hero together with me playing from China. EU servers, my ping with 2 to 400. I recently moved back to Europe, though, with Jimmy and Gooble, Thrasio and I having a blast playing ourselves some Helldivers 2. Don't take for granted these wonderful people you meet online. In the words of Bill and Ted, be excellent to each other. That is wonderful advice, and I do recommend it. That was great. Happy ending. Yes, your internet online date of the stalker did not quite pay off. Unfortunate. Do a shout outs to Guzu there. Thank you for that big raid, for you guys coming in. Let's finish up with a short one for any of our first timers. Why not? Let's do that. I believe this... Okay. A mammoth-sized ninja looter. So if you're unfamiliar with Drama Time, these stories are sent in by people who listen to Drama Time, obviously. Everything is kept anonymous. We replace our names with our viewers. And share in the tales of what happens in the online world. So here you are. All right, let's do a shorter one. Mikey in chat, I'm glad you enjoyed my Brackenspore flamethrower story from a few weeks back. I thought I would tell you the next one I had in my back pocket from the OG days of Wrath of the Lich King. Different time, different vibe. It must have been around 2009, and my friend Sneak Attacks and I were pugging everything. Pug this, pug that, because of course, Wrath of the Lich King let us pug absolutely everything. I should remind you, I was 12 years old at the time. And we were a pair. A pair of incredibly immature 12-year-olds. With the expansion introducing achievements, we were dead set that we were going to be the coolest of the cool and get every achievement in the game. Of course it would be doable. Why would Blizzard make achievements that were hard to get? We were sure of ourselves. We just needed to find good enough pugs that could match our skills. Okay. I think psychologically we preferred pugging to joining something cohesive, like, you know, a guild, because scheduling things like raids and dungeons made them into a job, which is what the sweaty dipshits did. We were cool. We were 12. We were the youngsters, not the oldies that were booking their nights and evenings. But to Sneak Attacks and I, schedules were basically homework. Yeah, playing a game is homework. And so, considering we weren't going to do extra homework, it was our quest of attaining every single achievement in World of Warcraft, where we, of course, hit the wall of needing a raid group for some of them. We, of course, sent an email to Blizzard about how unfair it was that achievements should require more than one person. That is weird in an MMO, isn't it? It's very strange. Yeah, Blizzard wasn't thinking through at all. They were not thinking clearly by making achievements that might involve playing their online MMO content. Good quality. Anything, as a 12-year-old, though, anything that is unfair to you is clearly bullshit, right? Because you're 12, and everything should be designed around your life and how you like to live. Anyways, we figured out that we had something called a low gear score. Oh, Jesus Christ. I hate Wrath of the Lich King so much. So we installed the gear score add-on and realized that, yes, it was low compared to what people were asking for. And so we have very low odds of finding a hard mode Ulduar pug for Mimiron's head. You wanted to pug hard mode Ulduar as 12-year-olds to get the mount from it as well. I mean, to be fair, it's no, there's aim for the top, aim high, baby. So we checked out the other achievements and decided to start elsewhere. We would begin with the Vault of Archivon. You haven't done Vault of Archivon yet, and you're trying to get into hard mode Ulduar? Oh, sweet Jesus. We found out that this raid nestled within Wintergrasp. It took a couple of weeks, but we actually managed to defeat all 4 bosses in the raid. We never got a single speck of loot, classic, but the achievements were ours. It was after someone typed, "Mammoth mount is never gonna drop, lol," that we shit ourselves with excitement. This was a raid that we could get into with pugs, and we could also get a mammoth mount. Did Vault of Archivon drop a mammoth mount? I don't remember that. Mike, we raided and we raided hard. We were very careful and select to only join groups that specified that the mount was a free roll. And after a couple of weeks, to our excitement, the Grand Black War Mammoth mount dropped off Coralon the Flame Watcher. Roll for the mount? ? People were spamming in the raid chat. And a few seconds later, I saw the message, "Reigns of the Grand Black War Mammoth has been looted by whatever the pug leader's name was." A reminder, I was 12. My heart sank. I vented my frustrations to Sneak Attacks as he frantically typed his own back to me. Yes, I am well aware that the odds of us actually winning the mount was low, but I remember genuinely feeling as though that pug leader had just taken it directly from me. Naturally, of course, the pug fell apart instantly and we didn't finish the raid that week. Sneak Attacks and I decided we would make a friends pact, a blood oath amongst brothers. We would be the leaders of the Vault of Archivon pugs going forward, and fuck everyone else. We would ninja it if it dropped. Bold. Bold decision. He agreed to this daring and big-brained plan. And he agreed because I had come up with the idea I would get the mount first because I let him get the bronze straight from Stratholme. That's the same. That's the same thing. And so, we put our little caps on and got to pugging. Raid reset came around. I rushed home from school as quickly as I could, tossed my backpack across the room and told my parents I had no homework for that night and dove to my keyboard. Ah, God, this is my kids, man. Sneak Attacks and I logged in almost at the same time as he also lied to his parents about homework. The race was on. The game was afoot, and the trade chat was abuzz with our spam. We spammed it as much as possible. LF, 8M, VOA, 10-man, need heals, mount is free roll for sure. We repeated as our respective Frost and you both played DKs. Your two 12-year-old Death Knights, a Frost and a Blood DK. I mean... it fits. It fits. It fits, man. It fits. It fits. It fits. Okay. We ran around circling each other in Dalaran on our Drake mounts. We slowly filled the pug and collectively waited about 5 minutes for Wintergrass to end, since we were Hordy boys and they pretty much had it in the bag already. Once the keep was claimed and the flight in the zone resumed, we all made our way to the door. And with the might of our Titan steel destroyers, and I guess the other 8 people helped, we crushed boss after boss. It was Archibald himself, namesake of the raid, that dropped the reins of the Grand Black War Mammoth for the 2nd week in a row on our server. The raid chat exploded. Roll! Roll, everybody, roll! People were already rolling. Some motherfucker rolled a 99. My heart was pounding out of my little chest. I was Master Looter, but Sneak Attacks and I had figured out a cunning plan. Now, I need to give some advice to the audience here. If you're going to ninja loot something, just take it and go. Probably log off, let the heat pass. But we thought we had a better plan. We figured if we play it off as an elaborate ruse, then they might have some fun with it and we would get away with it. My character stood perfectly still. I didn't say anything. Chat was starting to get mad that the item wasn't being distributed and people weren't rolling. Sneak Attacks was telling everyone that I probably just DC'd and would be back in a second. And that he was also mad and not in any way a friend of mine. He pretended to be as angry as everyone else. Our plan was that if I just AFK'd long enough, people would just leave the raid. Oh, I love this. Oh, you dumb bastards. With a mount on the line, ain't nobody going anywhere. I would leave, because I don't give a shit, but... I would definitely leave. I would leave, like, beforehand. I don't care, but... People didn't leave. None of them left. They stayed, and the chat just kept raging, and seemingly they started to get angrier. They quickly figured out that Sneak Attacks was actually a friend of mine, as he had been in the raid when the first person had joined, and my accomplice in the ninja looting going on before them, and started to attack Sneak Attacks as well. I started to get nervous in real life. My conscience was currently beating the shit out of my lungs, and I was starting to almost hyperventilate. I didn't know if I would get arrested for what I was about to do. In my mind, I was contemplating stealing. I slowly reached for the keyboard. I slowly reached to the keyboard to type a message to Sneak Attacks about what was happening. The plan wasn't working. People weren't leaving. I didn't press enter first. I pressed D. My character turned. Everybody was watching my character, and it was very obvious that I was very clearly still online. Interestingly enough, they all started leaving the raid. They were very aware of what the fuck was going on, and they knew it was going to get ninjaed. And after a bit, Sneak Attacks whispered me, "The coast is clear." I knew it was as I was looking at my screen. I right-clicked the mount, assigned it to me, and saw it appear in my bags. I right-clicked it, and the two of us hearthed back to Dalaran so I could stand around on my glorious new Mammoth. To our horror, though, trade chat was filled with our names. Our names were being broadcast all over Dalaran about how we were ninja looters and that we should never be allowed into any pugs at all costs. And then someone saw me. The message in trade chat was, "Lol, the author is literally riding the fucking mount here in Dalaran." Our whispers started to fill up. We decided to start whispering people that I had DC'd and was struggling to get back online, and everybody was gone when we looted it. This just made it so much worse. Sneak Attacks never ever got his War Mammoth. He never got any mount ever again. He quit WoW almost a week later because he couldn't join any groups and was constantly being harassed in game every time he logged in. His excuse, of course, was that the game had just got boring. It's boring, this game. It's really boring, mate. Nah, can't be arsed. Pretty shit, actually, now I think about it. Well, shit game. Gotta go play Call of Duty instead, mate. Fucking boy, you're still playing that, like, little lame game with the elves and shit. Loser. Don't get me wrong. He's doing just fine, last I heard. He'd moved out of state a few years back and had a newborn daughter, so he did survive the ordeal of being blasted in Wrath of the Lich King. I carried on playing, though. I had my Mammoth. I've stayed. I got mine. I, of course, didn't get into many pugs for a couple of weeks until everyone on the server just couldn't be arsed. But eventually, things started to go back to normal, and it was pretty good. The moral of the story, ladies and gentlemen, is if you're 12 years old and Ninja Loot a mount, just have the decency to write about it in drama time about 15 years later and let everybody share in the tale. Fuck you, got mine. Fuck you. That's fair. Like, if you did that shit back in the day, at least you can share it with drama time. Some 50, over a decade later, we'll allow the crime. We'll absolve you. Lies! Guilty! Ninja looters. I fucking hate ninja looters. Ninja it and they'll forget eventually. Whatever it might be. Ladies and gentlemen, it's 7 o'clock here on a Sunday night here in the UK. I assume the sun's gone down or is going down, so I'm going to love you and leave you. I'm back in the morning. So that's what it's going to be. And hopefully, pretty soon, my amnesia will clear up. We can only hope and we can only pray. We can only hope and we can only pray, all right? So it's going to be good. So thank you for sharing a Sunday with me. It's been a lot of fun. Darkest Dungeon tomorrow. Maybe a little mock remix. We'll see. We'll see. But I'll see you then. Bye, everybody. Be good.